Dear Dharma friends and our practitioners, practice patient Zen. We focus on the practice. We relied on our own ability, any means, any methods helping us to improve our belief in our Buddha nature. Any attachment will be released by a practice, and the knowledge or the understanding will help us to go back to the practice. We borrow those explanations from the Buddha or the patriarchs to gain our belief in our own Buddha nature. And we continue to rely on our ability to practice. However, we still need the help from the three jewels of Buddhism, our Dharma friends, or the sutras, in order to remind us to go back to our practice. For new practitioners, sometimes they have the mind of doing something else, and they don't want to do anything else, and not even to practice. And that leads us to the wrong path of practicing, and eventually these thinking in the mind will interfere with our practice and lead us on another path that we become searching for something else instead of believe in our own Buddha nature. So it's important to practice. We need to believe in our own Buddha nature and start the practice. When we still not knowing the meanings from the Buddha natures, we not realizing our own Buddha nature, then we can still continue to practice. Any interference, any challenges coming, we still use them as a reminder to come back to our practice. Or the bodhisattva or the practitioners, they always believe in their own Buddha nature and practice. It's just like Thiện Tai Đông Tử, when he's searching for the method of practice, when he heard about any wise man that have the way of practice, he came to study and learn the way of practice in order to improve himself. So when doing a practice, it doesn't matter if you achieve anything or not achieving anything, you still go back to the practice until you get enlightenment. So that is the meanings of your own abilities and the help from others. So that is the sharing of our Dharma friends recently. If you have any questions or want to share your own experience, go ahead and speak up. Miss Tâm, go ahead.
Dạ, con kính thưa thầy, kính thưa đại chúng. Dạ thưa thầy, con chia sẻ một ít.
I want to share my experience in practice.
Thưa thầy, Đức Phật là người chỉ cho mình.
Our Buddha have shown us every sentient beings has a Buddha nature, and we believe in his words, and we start the practice. So the Buddha and the Patriarch shown us methods of asking questions and raising doubt. When we ask the questions and we have a doubt, and we keep asking questions in all situations, working or not working, we asking questions and raising the doubt in our daily livings. We asking the questions just like before the heaven and the earth come to existence. What was I? When I started the practice, I just asking the questions, and I'm not really going into the what is the real Buddha nature. So when when I going deeply into the practice, I realized that the always ask what is your Buddha nature, and that is when I'm practicing like that, I'm working, even though there's no question, but I still have the doubt going on. So could you give me some encouragement on this? So all sentient beings has a Buddha nature. However, all sentient beings already had the Buddha nature, but we don't know what is our Buddha nature. That's why in a time of Master Zilak, some disciples asking him the questions, what is our Buddha nature? They just trying to understand what is the Buddha nature, and unfortunately they only try to explain what is a Buddha nature, and then they when they attach themselves to that meanings of the Buddha nature, which means they not going the right path, It's just like the words heart have only three components making up the word heart in Chinese writing. However, if we just look at that and we thought that is the heart or our mind, then we can be mistaken the real meanings of our mind or our heart. When you still running after the explanations of what is the Buddha nature, and when you have the answer, sometimes you attaching yourself to that answer. So that's why the Buddha, the patriarchs, try to explain the way of practicing, but they don't want us to attach to the Buddha's or the patriarch words. For example, we have a lotus flower, and we don't want to explain what making of the lotus or anything about the lotus. That is the knowledge that we gain from the lotus, that what we don't know about the lotus. Or another example is when Lam Tế, Zen master, asking Hoàng Bá, Zen master, about what is the meanings, the true meanings of Dharma teaching, and Hoàng Bá just hit him really hard, beat him hardly. So because Hoàng Bá wanted Lam Tế to have a doubt. So if Hoàng Bá explained about what is the true teaching, Buddha teaching, then Hoàng Bá, then Lam Tế could attach himself to the explanations. That's why we need to be careful when we try to search for the meanings of what is the Buddha nature, which means if we have the answer, we have the tendency to attach to that. So we use the questions and asking the question continuously in order to get the doubt. However, we don't attach to anything that's going on in our mind. When we have the answer for our questions, which means that becomes the curiosity doubt. It's not a true doubt anymore. So there's an example that the master shown us that for all scientists, they also have a doubt. What is the origin of the human race? And they try to answer the questions. That's why they go into the knowledge, explanations of the origin of all human beings, or all sentient beings. That's why the Buddha and the patriarchs said that is the stupidities of the scientists. The Buddha and the patriarchs want us to keep the doubt, and our questions have no answers. Any answer that we had when we doing the practice, which means we are going on a wrong path. This is why the scientists, they always try to answer, or other religions, they try to know who is the first person in this world who creating the human race and other races. And when they have the answer, they start to have God or any other device created by their own mind. And that started off the ignorance. So when we're still searching for the answer to explain certain questions, which means we're running in the thinking aspect of the mind. It's just like we're running after our shadow, or we just like a cow with a rope tied to the nose. This is why the Huvan Zen master said that when you practicing the Patriarch Zen, you're asking the questions and raising doubts, which means you reflect yourself back to your own Buddha nature. And when you go back to your own Buddha nature, then you don't attach yourself to anything going on in your mind. So when you detach yourself from all those objectives, thinking created by your own mind, which means you are reflecting yourself back to your Buddha nature. When you are not stealing those thoughts going on in your mind, which means you're going back to your own Buddha nature. So our mind is always afraid of not knowing something. That's why they try to explain about anything going on in the mind. This is why it's very hard for people to understand or believe in their own Buddha nature. That's why when we start to have our wisdom, when we start to have the prajna, we continue to practice and we will be able to walk on the way to go back to our own Buddha nature and find the prajna or the wisdom of our own Buddha nature. So because we still have the ignorance, that's why the Buddha talking about the Buddha nature. But if we don't have the ignorance, then the Buddha won't talk about the Buddha nature anymore. So truth or false are just the two sides of the coin. So if you attach to either side of that coin, then you still going on the wrong path because you still have the attachment. So when you still attaching to some concepts like a Buddha nature, then you still have mistakes in your practicing. Is that understandable? I understand. However, I am not creating a self in order to ask about. However, I just follow the instructions. It's your habit that you still having. That's why you don't realize your own mistake. So when you still attaching to something, when you're listening to these words, then you don't realize that you have your own Buddha nature already. It's just like you raising a poison snake in your house, and it can bite you and kill you anytime. However, just keep practicing, and eventually you will realize the real meanings in the explanations of the Buddha or the patriarchs, and just keep on practicing. You will realize your own Buddha nature, and you don't attach yourself to these words anymore. So it's just like you climbing up the mountain. The more you climb up, you will see more and more. Even though you climbing up the mountains, when you're not reaching the peak, which means you're not seeing everything yet. Okay, even though you higher from other below you, however, when you have not reached the peak, which means you still keep climbing up until you reach a peak, which means you see everything, and at that there's nothing else for you to worry about, nothing for you to attach to, and nothing for you to climb up anymore. So in the Buddha Sutra, there are different levels in practicing. They started to destroy our ego, and then destroy the belief in ascension beings, destroy the belief in our own thinking in the mind. So, as I understand, is that you said that I'm still creating a self and try to find that self. No, it's not that you creating a self, but you are searching for the true self, which is a Buddha nature, and you are attaching to that searching, and you thought that there's a true Buddha nature, and there's something else opposite to that. So it's just like a drunken. When they drunk, they always thought they are right. However, when they awaken, so that is something that you have to realize your own mistake. So am I having the attachment to something to ask for? Yes, that is what you are right now. Thank you for your words. Hoàn cảnh, go ahead.
Kính thưa thầy, thưa sư cô và toàn thể các bạn đồng tham. Tổ lai quả có nói là pháp tham.
Lai quả Zen Master said that the patriarch Zen is a method to help or to rescue our mind. So I don't understand our in understanding, if we have if we try to rescue this mind is not real, then why we have to rescue this mind? And if we try to rescue our true Buddha nature, then the Buddha, it's a Buddha nature already. Why do we need to rescue it? So could you give me some words of explanation on this? So the explanations that Lai Quả Zen Master said to us, that we have to rescue our own mind. This is just an example for us to believe in our own Buddha nature. However, that's only the means. It's just like a fake disease. You're gonna have fake medications for you to take. So it's just because you're attaching to everything going on in this mind. That's why the Buddha and the patriarch having all these methods in order to help you to detach yourself from all those thinkings in your mind. So when we're talking about rescuing this mind, we're talking about the attachment that we have on the creation, or the creation of this mind. We just believe in all of those created by the mind, but we don't realize that we have our Buddha nature have no attachment. So that is why when the Buddha got enlightenment, he said that it's a miracle that every sentient being has a Buddha nature. However, just because of attachment to the thinking that they don't realize that they have their own Buddha nature already. And that's why the Buddha want to enter Nirvana. However, he stay and use the means in order to help us to practice. That's why he thought it's so difficult to spread out the Dharma. He wanted to enter Nirvana just because of that. Because the sentient beings, they don't believe in their own Buddha nature. That's why the angels came and asked him to stay and spread out the Dharma to all sentient beings so they have a chance to come back to their own Buddha nature. So this is also why Lai Quả Zen Master said that we need to rescue our mind, or that is also just explanations to, he's using just a mean to help us to do the practice. So when we practice, then we realize our own Buddha nature. Is that understandable? Yes. Is that in just like in Lăng Nghiêm Sutra, the Buddha told Ananda that our knowings from the six senses are just a disease that we have from several lives. So is that the same as what you're explaining? So all those explanations in Lăng Nghiêm Sutra, the Buddha said that all of those that you know from your six senses are just the knowings of ignorance. It's just because sentient beings looking at those knowing and they thought, they attach themselves to those knowing. But the saints or the all about Buddha and patriots, when they look at what they knowing, they just don't have that attachment or not attachment in their mind. So we need to pay attention to our practice. These are just a words to remind us to go back to the practice. If we attach to words, then we won't be able to detach ourselves from the thinking.